Hello, Wolfpack! We're back, and we're doing another surprise tier list. This time we're hyping up the new release of another great horror saga, Final Destination. Yep, apparently after all these years, we finally have a new Final Destination movie, the new Bloodlines movie, which is scheduled to premiere this weekend. No, I have not seen it yet, and Bloodlines death scenes are not on this tier list if you're curious, because this is basically trying to find the right words. Basically, we're having fun right now, listing all the greatest death scenes to hype up Bloodlines and get people excited, basically milking the popularity of the sixth movie, and talking about this franchise as a whole, basically talking about all the death scenes of Final Destination, because the death scenes are the greatest part of this franchise. Death doesn't like to be cheated. Hey, Shadowlink. Hey, Kat. Hey, Akira. And R.I.P. Tony Todd. Yep, Tony Todd's passed away, and Final Destination Bloodlines is allegedly the last movie he's ever filmed. Very appropriate considering that Bloodsworth is implied to be the embodiment of death himself, but yeah. So Final Destination is finally getting a sixth movie, so let's have some fun and talk about all the greatest death scenes prior to that in celebration of the new release. No, I have not seen it yet. It's coming out this weekend, basically, and no, the death scenes of Bloodlines aren't on here, so don't worry, no spoilers for movie 6. Only spoilers for literally every other entry. Got all the infamous death scenes, including the main 5 premonitions. Yeah, so I love the Final Destination saga. It is pure dumb fun. It's not one of the greatest horror sagas of all time. It's fun. It's fun horror movie stuff, over-the-top death scenes, blood and gore, some sexuality. Those are in the fun Final Destination movies, at least. And a whole lot of insane storytelling that gets very creative with each passing sequel, except for the 4th movie. So Bloodlines is coming out. I decided I want to talk about this saga. A lot of people really wanted me to rank all the iconic death scenes from this movie universe. So we're gonna finally do that in celebration of movie 6. Like even Stephen King made The Monkey, which is Final Destination, but funnier. I have not seen it. I heard a lot of people like it, but no familiarity with it because I've kind of fallen out of Stephen King movies. Anyways, we got all the death scenes from movie 1 back in the early 2000s, all the way to Final Destination 5, which last came out 10 years ago in like 2012, 2013-ish, and we're finally getting a 6th movie like 10 years later. I heard a lot of people are excited about it. I've seen the trailers. It does look good. It looks like it is a Final Destination movie, so finally getting a return to form for the franchise ever since movie 5. It looked a lot better than movie 4, but then again, even the bad movies had good trailers, so we'll see where it falls later, but not gonna be talking about Bloodlines as death scenes because none of them are here. Now instead we're going to be ranking all the movie scenes from the first film all the way to Final Destination 5. We are stopping at 5, sorry, that's all this tier list has. We do have the premonitions on here too, because I thought they'd be fun to talk about. So if this is your first ever tier list, I'll go over it very briefly and to the point. We're going to be ranking every death scene from best to worst on a tier list. Up top, we have S tier, the 10 out of 10s, the greatest death scenes of horror cinema, and the best scenes of this horror franchise. Final Destination has some stellar death scenes, great effects, very violent in nature, and a lot of creepy horror and dread because basically everyday items can kill you. Then we have A tier. Really good, really good. These are decent entries. These ones did their job. They were awesome, but missing that extra spark for perfection. Then we have B. These ones, they're fine. They're alright, they're decent. Pretty creepy, but could have been stronger. Then we have C. These ones, pretty weak. The lame ones, the forgettable ones. Not bad enough to be god-awful, but also not that great. Then we have D. These are duds. They're whatever. They could have been something special, but ended up kind of forgotten amongst the more cooler tricks the films do. Then at rock bottom, we have F. Total failures, 0 out of 10s, and yes, you might see the fourth movie scenes down here in masses, because the fourth movie was not very good. But yeah, this is worst, up top is best, of course. Gonna be ranking every death scene from the franchise so far. Sorry, Bloodlines fans, if you're watching this in the future, but we're doing this in celebration of the new release because I do like the Final Destination saga. I do own movies 1 through 5 on DVD. Yeah, I unfortunately do own movie 4 because it came packed with the rest of the ones I actually wanted to see. Like the clue that they mentioned that death with liquid or water. So yeah, we'll go over briefly if this is your first ever Final Destination video. If you don't know, Final Destination is a horror franchise. At the time of this stream, they've made 6 movies. There's 1, 2, 3, The Final Destination, 5, which is also in 3D, and we got the 6th movie, which is Bloodlines. They're now just gonna add names at the end, so you don't have to go back and watch like 20 movies. Basically, it's about different varying groups of horror movie characters who survived an accident. A freak accident occurs in their daily lives, and this accident was supposed to kill them, but thanks to some psychic premonitions, they avoid them or don't get killed in the accident that death had planned for them. So they were supposed to die in these tragic freak accidents, and because they survived, Death gets to work, because he doesn't like being cheated, to basically kill them all like a slasher movie killer. Death is the killer of this saga, and tries to kill them in ironic and poetic ways that mirror the death they had planned in the accident. Basically, Death is coming after these souls because they weren't supposed to live. And they die in freaky, over-the-top ways, some creepy, ghoulish, and very terrifying, and some over-the-top, ridiculous, goofy, and very CGI-heavy if you watch the 4th movie. I hate that Bloodlines dropped the premise of focusing on first responders. That would have been interesting. Yeah, instead we're gonna have a generational age gap between Death's victims, like an entire families weren't supposed to exist. Yeah, basically, Death had planned for them to die. They did not. They managed to live. They have a psychic premonition showing them basically their fate, that what they were supposed to die from, and they avoid being killed. However, Death doesn't like to be cheated and comes after them. Comes after these varying groups of horror movie characters. There's technically not really a main protagonist. The closest we have is Clear Rivers, who appeared in at least 2 movies. Rumor has it she's gonna be in Bloodlines, but yeah, basically new groups of diverse horror movie characters, and they all get picked off one by one until the main protagonist, the final guy or final girl, manages to crack the case and outsmart Death and hopefully live by the end of their movie, depending on which one has a twist ending or not. Basically trying to outrun the process of death itself. They're going to be sent to their final destination, and it's not exactly high-quality cinema, but it's pure dumb fun. It is good old-fashioned love letter to horror movies, over-the-top death scenes, fun characters, fun, insane situations, and a very creepy feeling of dread because death is basically inevitable for us all, so the movie does build off that premise a lot, and as you can see here, got a lot of death scenes to talk about, so we got some good, some bad, and some from movie 4. I'm sure you're all looking forward to talking about them, but yeah, gonna be ranking them all. Final Destination, I do recommend at least the first 3 movies. Final Destination 1 is okay. 2, I do love. I think 2 is awesome. 3, it is a guilty pleasure. It's not perfect, but I do think it's pretty fun. Movie 4, it sucks. Don't watch it. And movie 5 is decent. A lot of people love it. Me, I'm kind of more lukewarm on it. I thought it was fine. And movie 6, I have not seen yet. A lot of people are very hyped for it because the trailers do look pretty good and intense. But we'll see where it falls when it comes out. Because, yeah, Bloodline's main cast was going to be EMTs, cops, and firefighters, and they switched back to your standard 20-something-year-olds. Well, except Grandma is a character in there, but we'll see if she actually is important. It was sad that Alex from Final Destination 1 was going to be killed off by a power drill if he appeared in Final Destination 2. But because Devon Sawa didn't return, they decided to kill him off with a brick. Yeah, that was lame. He gets killed off screen by a brick. Don't worry, I don't think that one's on here, but we'll see. His off-screen death was originally going to be the death of Chandler. Like they mentioned the coin. I did not see that in Bloodlines, or if I did, I forgot. Okay, so as you can see, we do have a pretty good selection of death scenes here. I hope nobody minds, but I do not think the fake-out premonition from the shopping mall made it on here. If it did, that would go on to F, but yeah, we have official death scenes only. And the premonitions, because the starter premonitions are pretty cool. So let's finally get this show on the road with the first ever death scene in Final Destination, the plane crash. So, controversial opinion, but the plane crash is going on to A. Yeah, this is the famous premonition scene of Final Destination, the first ever one, where basically Alex Browning and his class are going on a field trip to, I believe, France. They're boarding a plane, and the plane basically crashes. Something goes wrong, the plane catches fire, it burns everyone. Some characters are sent falling right out of the sky. Dude, we're falling right out of the sky! And the plane basically burns up before it even takes off. And it turns out it was all just a premonition Alex had. Alex freaks out, and he and the main cast basically get booted off the airplane after he has a meltdown. This is the first ever quote-unquote death scene of Final Destination, where basically the class and everybody on board the plane blows up. And I thought it was pretty alright. It was definitely an interesting beginning, I will say. However, the CGI is a bit outdated, and Final Destination 5 kind of made the scene a lot weirder in hindsight. Like Final Destination have some symbolism in every movies. Yeah, they do. I know what you're saying there, Akira. I don't remember the coin, though. Because Final Destination 4's opening credits had a power drill in it, which was never a death in any of the previous films. That was meant to be for Alex, though the filmmakers added the drill there for shock value. Okay, they did. So anyways, I think the plane death scene, it's alright. Not one of my favorite premonitions, but very creative, and I can see what they're trying to go for. People are afraid of riding airplanes. There is some tension here if you're nervous about flight or things going wrong in takeoff. Basically, the plane spontaneously combusts. It blows up. Everyone's set on fire before being finished, and Alex manages to survive this, and in FD5, it's revealed that the main protagonist and his girlfriend were the ones who were supposed to be killed on this airplane. They, pulled a twist ending where it all came full circle, and death was kind of coming after the Final Destination 5 main characters, because the twist is FD5 was a prequel the whole time. Which kind of makes some things in that film questionable, but yeah. Also, not sure if you mentioned earlier, Final Destination was originally an X-Files episode called Flight 180. Oh, that is pretty cool. I know the Twilight Zone inspired Final Destination. The 22, that was the episode 22. It was about a woman who went on aboard an airplane. She had nightmares which were a Final Destination premonition, showing her the airplane was gonna blow up. Nobody believes her, and her premonitions actually helped save her life. Still an iconic scene of the franchise, not to mention it was nice to see it return in the fifth one. Yeah, it is iconic. I do say it's only A because it's been kind of outclassed by some of the later premonitions, which got way more extreme as the franchise went on. Bloodlines is gonna have a huge tower breaking down and people free falling from the weird stratosphere tower from Las Vegas. Or possibly the Space Needle. Basically, a giant tower death scene is coming up in movie 6, and I do think the airplane, it is a classic, so of course it's going high up, but not one of my favorite premonitions. But Alex and the main cast survive, only to soon learn that death is looming over them. Sorry, I got my 500 waters to stay hydrated. So let's go with the first actual Final Destination scene where Death gets involved. The shower scene. Yeah, Alex's best friend, basically suffering some depression and survivor's guilt, is talking to Alex on the phone, and he goes in a bathroom, and this is our first hint that Death is causing these accidents. In Final Destination 1, Death is an actual character. We catch hints and glimpses of him, see like a looming shadowy figure, like a black shadow. We briefly see a skull at times looming over characters. This is the famous bathroom scene where the kid is in the bathroom and Death unleashes like this liquid all over the floor where he slips and gets strangled in the shower by a clothesline. Like, was this a thing? Did people, like, dry their clothes in the shower? Yeah, he falls into, like, a clothesline, which, of course, wraps around his neck and strangles him with the barber scissors just out of reach, and he dies horribly being strangled in the bathroom, and it looks like a suicide. This one I actually will put onto S. There is an anime called Another that has FD-style accidental deaths, but it's caused by a curse inflicted by a ghost in the main character's class. Okay. Like I know Flight 180 is the Angel of New Beginning and Growth of Flight 555, the Angel of Death. No idea what you're talking about. Like this was mentioned in Soot from Crypt TV. Yeah. My grandma dries her clothes in the bathtub, but not with a clothesline. Yeah, there's an actual clothesline in the shower. It's like very thin, like metal wire, and it's what wraps around Alex's best friend, strangling him. I do like the bloodshot eyes he gets because it's that intense. He falls like right into the bathtub, but one of the more ridiculous aspects is Death like moves the liquid he slipped on away and cleans up to leave no evidence, you know, as if people will ever suspect Death or he'll be arrested for this. But yeah, this is technically the first cause of death in the Final Destination saga, where this kid gets strangled horribly in the shower, and it is completely a cosmic event. It is not him killing himself like the police suspect, and he basically dies getting violently throttled. I do like it. So, yeah, we'll put it on S tier. It is the first ever accidental death in the Final Destination saga, and a pretty good one. This one laid the foundation for the rest of the series that Death would cause these over-the-top Rube Goldberg type of accidents to kill people, and I thought this one was easily the most intense of the movie, so we'll put it onto S tier. This is unfortunately followed up by one of the funniest death scenes, the idiot bully's girlfriend getting hit by a bus, and I might put this one onto S tier because it is so funny. Yeah, basically, Carter and his girlfriend are having a fight with Alex. The girlfriend basically breaks up with him and gives this like very impassioned speech about letting things go and living life, and then she's randomly hit by a bus. It is hilarious. I don't get what people thought was scary about it because, like, it's supposed to be scary because it's a jump scare and it's a very random, abrupt kill scene, but it is funny, man. It is, like, so funny. She's just talking mid-monologue and then, bam, hit by a bus. They actually had to insert a scene of Alex calming himself down at his house because audiences needed time to breathe it in because it was that creepy. Like, maybe they don't like having clothes get muddy in the rain, or pets like dog rip their clothes. Their last name is based on famous directors. Okay. So yeah, I laugh every time I see this. It is, basically that's it. She's hit by a bus at sheer random, and spoilers, there's a main character on this bus who shows up in a sequel. Kind of a weird addition, honestly, but I'll put it on S just because it's hilarious. Like, it is a very darkly hilarious scene, and convince the directors and creatives to start making Final Destination more of a dark comedy thanks to scenes like this. And all anime characters die by bus, truck, or van. That's what caused them to isekai. Yeah, I didn't know until I watched Cinema Snob's review. Yeah, so girl getting hit by a bus. It is going on to S tier just because it's so hilarious. This is followed up by another goofy scene, the bitch teacher who was accusing Alex of being a terrorist or something. Basically, the teacher's at her private home trying to basically recover from her survivor's guilt, and during a freak stove accident, she gets horribly injured and a knife falls on her. She's like trying to reach up and grab for help. She slips and hurts herself. Death causes like a fire to happen in her house. Desperately trying to get out of here, and like knives fall on her, and Alex shows up and accidentally knocks the knife deeper into her. It's another funny death scene. Hers, I might put onto A tier. It's funny, but a lot more Three Stooges funny-esque compared to being hit by a bus. Like maybe the bully's girlfriend dying transport from another world. So yeah, the teacher basically, she hurts herself, she falls down, she's trying to reach up and accidentally drops like all the knives onto her, they stab into her and she's basically bleeding out. Alex shows up and tries to save the day, only to hilariously fail. Like her stove blows up and it knocks a chair down, knocking the knife further into her, basically ending her. And yeah, it is another ridiculous over-the-top death scene and another sign that Final Destination was crawling towards dark comedy. Imagine if they made a prequel called First Destination. It got a dull machete by James from Dead Meat. Yeah, it was a lot sillier compared to every other death, but I'll put hers onto A because the first movie did have some pretty good death scenes. Then next is Stifler. Yep, Stifler's in the first Final Destination movie. The friends are driving around in a car. The idiot bully Carter has like a complete and total meltdown trying to kill everyone. They barely escape the train, and Stifler's like telling him that you were supposed to die, and during his rant, he also abruptly dies. The train hits some debris which slices Stifler's head clean off, and that's how he dies. That one is also pretty cool. His I actually might put onto A tier. So, the death scene, nothing too special, but it's pretty cool. He basically suffers a beheading. The train hits the debris from Carter's car, it goes flying, and it cuts Stifler's head clean off. He falls down dead, and we get that iconic scene where the head falls off slowly and rolls towards the main characters. It is pretty funny, and if you hate Stifler on American Pie, a lot more funnier watching it. Okay, read that comment. Yeah, I thought this one was also pretty cool. Nothing super special. It pales in comparison to the shower scene and the bus death, but pretty high up there. I'll put it on awesome. And last is the twist ending, where after they save the day, they save Clear Rivers from death, Alex dies and comes back to life, they think they finally defeated death and they're all safe now. They're all hanging out in Paris, and Carter, the idiot bully, has a complete redemption arc. Now he's a total bro hanging out with them. They're all pals. And then he gets hit by a sign. Yeah, we find out in the twist ending, they didn't escape death or beat him, they only delayed him coming after them. And he comes back like a year later, he tries to kill Alex, the idiot bully saves him, then the idiot bully is whacked to death by a sign, and we never see how he actually died. Yeah, it cuts before the sign actually splatters him. So, might piss off some people, but I'll put it on to B because it is an off-screen death. This franchise has catered to phobias, including the fear of everything. Hey, Bodhi, glad you made it. We're gonna finally make it to Final Destination 2. Talk about your favorite scene at the dentist office. Former reviewer James Carlson, now called Mutascale, covered the Final Destination Spring Break. He hated it way more than FD4. Okay, so the first twist ending, while it is effective, unfortunately the death scene kind of happens off screen. You just see the sign coming at the back of Carter, and that's where it ends. It's a bit abrupt, honestly, and you never get to see it. You just get he's crushed by a sign and never see anything, which is why it's being dropped down to B. Would have been a brutal death if they showed it. Yeah, because the sign was also pretty spiked and had shards of glass. Whereas the alternate scene is different, where Alex almost dies. I'm just gonna hide in the empty comment section, thank you, buddy. Okay, Bodhi, at least you're here. Yeah, Carter's death, a bit anticlimactic because it's the only one that happens off screen, so that's why it's being dropped to B. But now we make it to Final Destination 2. We gotta start with the highway crash. Yep, the highway incident where a logging truck accidentally loses its logs and it goes flying at all the people behind it, causing a massive highway crash. And yep, it's gone on to S tier, of course it is. Final Destination 2, easily my favorite of all these movies. I will argue that FD2 is easily the best entry in this saga, and the premonition definitely helped me love it even more because it is a very slick and awesome scene. Basically, the main cast, Kimberly and her friends, Kimberly played by the idiot bully sister from Don't Wake Mummy, they're going on a road trip and a logging truck basically loses its logs, implied to be death at work, where the logs go flying at people, and one of the best scenes is it kills that police officer by going clean through his cop car, and all the logs cause people to crash, they're flying everywhere, people are catching fire, cars are straight up blowing up, some people are getting like sliced in half from the accidents. It is an awesome scene and holds up spectacularly well today. So many great deaths, and by far the best premonition death in the series. Hey Wolf Entertainment, can you do videos on the Erie, Indiana TV shows? Not sure I will. I don't have any familiarity with it. I've never watched it, and honestly haven't been in a big rush to check out that show. Alex was originally going to die by the car exploding, but death would be defeated by new life after Claire gave birth to Alex's child. Okay. The Kitsune, I think. Oh, okay, that's Akira. James Carlson mostly referred to her as simply Final Girl because of how much of a walked Final Girl trope she was. Like, why people bringing logs and poor straps? Again, it's implied death was at work here, sabotaging the logging truck, but this premonition actually made people terrified to drive behind cargo trucks forever, because people are now paranoid that Final Destination stuff could happen. The truck could lose control of its cargo and send it flying at you if you're directly behind it. Yeah, it made people afraid of driving behind logging trucks, just like Jaws made people afraid of going to the beach. Common in the saga, dark humor, eyes deaths, get hit by car and bus, electric malfunction, and water. Well, it is the inspiration of Gravity Falls. Updated. Hey, James. I meant to say walking Final Girl trope, bruh, I'm a dumbass. Nah, you just didn't type it. Will you do any other horror-based TV shows? We are currently doing The Twilight Zone, but I'm trying to do Tales from the Dark Side, but that's facing some copyright issues. It is an annoyance, so we're trying to rethink that right about now. But we'll see, I still got some Goosebumps left to go. Alright, so now we'll talk about the first death-involved accident. The lottery winner. Remember this guy, he's gone to his crappy apartment, we get foreshadowing clues that something bad's gonna happen, and it leads to a hilarious fire happening in his apartment. He almost dies multiple times, his hand's stuck in the garbage disposal because he dropped like a diamond from his gold watch down there. His oven basically lights his place on fire. You think he's gonna burn to death or get hit by all the shards of glass. He manages to make it out before he blows up. And just when he's climbing down, he slips on spaghetti he threw out earlier, and a ladder falls, impaling him in the face. Yeah, this one actually will go up onto S tier. I did like this one. It is basically an upgraded version of the shower death scene where random objects lead to his death and he gets a very horrible out of nowhere death where a ladder impales his face. Ladder falls down once he trips and hurts himself, and yeah, that's the end of our lottery winner. I did like his death scene because of how over the top it is. Final Destination 2 really raised the stakes in death scenes, and even Death himself would do a lot more over the top stuff like this. This one was pretty brutal, and I do like how they managed to make this ridiculous series of events kind of more realistic than usual. Yo, how is everyone? Hey, V Scorpio, glad you made it. Rapid fire reviews on Tales from the Dark Side. We'll see. The mention of the lucky horseshoe necklace, yeah, which ironically didn't give him luck. Deuce de Khan said that everybody in FD2 to 5 are all made up of red jelly breadsticks. I love your videos and keep up the great work and content, you rock. Thanks, Michael Renner, glad you enjoy it. We still got a few goosebumps left, so don't worry, we're not out of horror content. I'm just trying to work out some new things, and testing the waters with these streams definitely helps get me into some horror genres without the copyright crap. Like they bring Lucky Charms being destroyed. I recommend to you a lot of shows. Yeah, I've seen them. Unfortunately, I'm not reviewing shows that have the same cast in every episode. Like, I'm sorry, I'm not interested in talking about like a Monster of the Week type of show, but if it has the same cast, because that's not really interesting to me. I talk about like horror anthologies mostly, so having the same cast like in every episode like Erie, Indiana or X-Files does not interest me, and I love the X-Files, but I do not want to review that series because there's like 300 episodes and 2 movies, and that is too much, man. That is just too much. Anyways, Lotto winner, he's gone on to S, which is then followed up by my bro Bodie's favorite death scene, the kid at the dentist. This one has a lot of fun fake outs. There's this teenage boy who's with his mom at the dentist. There's quite a lot of suspense because birds keep crashing into windows while the dentist is trying to work on these people's mouths, and you're led to believe he's gonna die some horrible dental related incident. He's like trying to drill into the kid's teeth. He's hopped up on like the weird gas which is supposed to knock him out, and birds keep crashing. They accidentally drop something in his mouth. There's like this weird fishy decoration up in the ceiling. A fish falls in his mouth and is choking him, but the doctors actually save him. Then when the kid is about to leave the dentist with his mom, the Kimberly and the cop show up to try and help them. The kid is screwing around with the birds, and the birds accidentally knock into a construction worker who sends the new window that was supposed to replace the dentist's broken window free falling and crushing him to death. And yeah, I actually might put this one onto S tier because of how horrible it is. It is pretty gruesome. He gets crushed to death by basically this unbreakable window and full-blown splats like a cartoon. It crushes him to death. My friend Bodie really liked this death scene because it terrified him of the dentist forever. And unlucky charms make they survive get killed. Hey, Black Knight Moon. Okay, anthology. Yeah, I found like anthologies are a bit easier to talk about. I don't really have much interest in talking about shows which have the same cast or one continuous story arc. I kind of rejected a few shows because of that, like one being Martin Mystery. It's like, I do know the show, but I haven't watched it, and shows that have like the same cast in each and every episode gets kind of stale after a while. It doesn't really intrigue me. Isn't Nightmare Room have the same cast, Full Moon Halloween and School Spirits? Yeah, they did, but that was like for 2 episodes. They weren't like in 15 or more episodes. Besides, people are so interested in my Power Rangers content more. Anyways, the window scene death, that one's pretty cool. I will put it on to S tier. Next is the kid's mother who gets beheaded in the elevator. After their weird meeting where all the survivors get together and talk about how this has happened before on FD1, the mother leaves and she doesn't have any fear of death, but doesn't know that death doesn't just kill you, he kills you violently, brutally, and sadistically. And she basically gets her hair hooked on this guy who's carrying a bunch of discarded mannequins. Her hair gets caught on one of the mannequins, and once she's trying to get off the elevator, her head gets stuck in the doors and basically slices her off Resident Evil style. This one I might put onto A. Yeah, I'll put it on A. It's kind of good, but in reality, an elevator door would not crush you to death like that. But we know death is working at play. I do think it's pretty brutal and savage, and Resident Evil even did this death scene too, so you get the idea. It is pretty horrible and pretty gruesome, but not one of my all-time favorite Final Destination deaths, mostly because it's kind of obvious as it goes on, so there's not much surprise, like the window scene or the guy getting impaled by the escape ladder. People on YouTube comment on Final Destination's YouTube video how illogical they are, but that's the fun. Yeah, I agree. Like Rory's death gets a golden chainsaw and dead meat. Like how strong it's for her head to come off. Yeah, elevator door, if it closes on a person, it would hurt, but not enough to like hold you down and keep you trapped in there. That is kind of a common fear. I get that. It made it a lot scarier and fun, but yeah, they do kind of take some creative liberties with how technology works. Yeah, she gets her head stuck in the elevator and it's clean sliced off. He's like, elevator rises up and basically the ceiling cuts her head off. In the FD universe, that's how they get killed, and it's creative and funny. I do agree, but this one tried to go for more horror. It wasn't supposed to be funny, but it kind of is. Gotta wonder how the hell they did the kid get put in the body bag after being crushed like an accordion. Probably put him in a vacuum cleaner. Well, if we talk about Creepshow TV show, have the elevator death in the better half of Linda. Crypt TV or Creepshow? Not sure what you're trying to specify. Yeah, this one I thought was pretty awesome. They do try to make it horrifying, but some of it's unintentionally hilarious, which is why it's going down to A. This is then followed up by the car death scene, which is another dark comedy death scene. This is after their car completely careens off the road. The uptight businesswoman is stuck in her car, tells the character is gone without her, and those stupid firefighters accidentally set off her airbag and impale her on a pipe, which completely missed them earlier. It's another funny death. I will put it on to B. Yeah, it should have been treated more seriously, but once again, Final Destination was crawling towards dark comedy a lot, and her death scene is easily one of the more goofy, ridiculous, comedic ones. In another, the elevator death was simply the nurse falling down the basement floor with said elevator crushing her. Yeah, I wouldn't think the elevator would get to her if she was laying dead on the floor, though. Creepshow, the one based on the comic book horror episode of Season 1. Okay, I have gotten requests for Creepshow, but I've never seen it. I've seen the Creepshow movies, but not sure if I'm interested in actually talking about the 2010s TV series. Like, it never really appealed to me, and Creepshow I did not even know was a movie at first. I have seen Creepshow 1 and 2, the movies. I did not really like the first movie all that much, even though it's a horror classic. I do like 2 of the segments, and Leslie Nielsen's pretty great in it. 2 I liked a bit more because it went more over the top with its things, and The Raft is a classic Creepshow story. Then I completely avoided movie 3 because I was told it sucked. And I never watched the TV show. I never really had an interest in actually watching it, and I'm not sure if I will. Nah, she was inside the elevator and the cable snapped. Okay, that makes a lot more sense. Anyways, the car death, it's a lot funnier, but a bit goofier because, come on, like, the firefighters accidentally kill her. Like, that is definitely a funny scene. I'll put it on to B because we've had funnier death scenes, but this one's alright. Then it's followed by the weird drug addict guy who gets sliced by barbed wire. If you don't remember, the car basically blew up, and I kid you not, they're at a farm, and it sent this barbed wire fence flying, and it slices this guy into pieces. Yeah, if you can't tell, he's sliced by, like, barbed wire going right through him, and falls apart like a slice of salami. This one was actually a lot funnier because of how goofy it was, but I will put it on to A because it actually did kind of work with how funny and ridiculous it is. doesn't make it onto S tier because the CGI is very dated and iffy. Since Crypt TV videos are cringe, like rejected shorts feel like VHS movies references, yeah, I might be dropping Crypt TV because, well, Crypt TV hasn't done any content in a while. I know a lot of people are disappointed because they wanted me to talk about Looksy at least. I might, but new shorts, probably not, because Crypt TV has not been the same for a while, and it doesn't help that most of the creatives went on to other things. Like, Crypt TV is not the same, and it's not making new content. All it's doing is getting clips and trailers from new horror movies. And that does not interest me for someone who subscribed for their original horror shorts. Like, they stopped doing those, and that's why Crypt TV's gone downhill. Anyways, I liked Barbwire Death. I'll put it onto A. It's pretty awesome, but the hokey effects might kill it for some people, which is why it doesn't make it onto S tier. It's definitely a shame. Hey, that does show how effective barbed wire can be for security. I get what they're going for, Bodhi, but come on, the barbed wire sliced him to multiple ribbons. He's like sliced in like 4 pieces here. It did, since it have or Cheetah like a best Christmas special. Like, Looksy have less lore and only listen to Monkey Paw's audio for my literary picture. Yeah, people wanted me to talk about Looksy. I might do that, but everything else, Crypt TV has not been the same for a while, which is why I kind of dropped it, and it doesn't help that a lot of people don't know of it anymore, so Crypt TV is gonna fade into obscurity soon. All it is a horror advertisement channel now. Speaking of which, next we have the motorcyclist who gets blown up in the hospital. This one is another kind of dark comedy death where the black guy had like an attack or something and he's taken to the hospital. He's hooked up to a breathing machine, and you do get kind of a huge amount of suspense because you think he's gonna die. The hospital machine is having like a Rube Goldberg chain reaction. It looks like he's about to die, but nope, he barely lives, and then Clear Rivers comes in and accidentally blows them both up. So, I'll put his death scene onto C because it is a CGI fire, and unfortunately, we're gonna get our first D death. Clear Rivers dies in FD2, and it is so anticlimactic. Yeah, Clear Rivers, one of the fan favorite final girls, accidentally gets killed because she opened the door, triggering an explosion from an oxygen machine, and she's set on fire. Yep. Clear Rivers dies just like that. No fanfare, no great blaze of glory. She's just killed in a regular blaze. Like the lore is forgotten. Yeah, it is, Akira. Crypt TV has lost its soul. They're not doing more for the Cryptverse and basically gave up. And I mentioned this in my Thing in the Apartment review that they're setting up this grander universe, and half the monsters have not had their stories fulfilled, and it's not good. It is not good writing, and it is a complete disappointment. Crypt TV went the way of the MCU. They got so big, they collapsed on themselves. Anyway, speaking of disappointment, Clear Rivers' death scene, do not like. It is almost on F tier because of how bad it is, but because Final Destination 2 is so good, I don't have the nerve to put it on lower, but I did not like how Clear Rivers died in this series. There is a solid argument that she might be alive. Clear could have survived that, but now she's gonna be like a burn victim or something in the 6th movie. I'm kind of skeptical about that, but we'll see if it does come true. Worse than a brick or wood chipper. Yeah, not as bad as that, which is why it's going on D. She did get at least a Final Destination death, more deserving, but did not like how Clear Rivers exited this series because Clear is like a fan favorite final girl, and you find out she died in a complete accident, being blown the hell up. That's how Clear Rivers' story ends, folks. So, rumor has it that Ollie Larder's gonna be in Bloodlines. Whether it's a flashback, a cameo, or Clear Rivers did survive that explosion, we'll see. But it's unknown for the time being, and Yeah, I don't like how Clear basically got punk killed in FD2. That is what I don't like about it. Like burned in the hospital explosion may be caused by the Joker. Yeah, the biker's Kratos from God of War 1 to 3. Yeah, that is him. I remember someone brought that up in the last Final Destination video. Yep, that is him. But we get to the final FD2 death. After all said and done, we get the twist ending death, where that random farm kid the drug guy saved was blown up by the barbecue. Yeah, this one, also gonna be putting it on B. This is the random ass barbecue death where they're having a picnic at the farm, and the farm kid that was saved from earlier was also supposed to die, but the drug guy saved him, and he died later. They're at like a family barbecue, and out of nowhere, their barbecue grill blows up and blows the kids like guts all over their barbecue feast, and like his arm lands in front of his mom. The end. It's another funny death scene, and I won't lie, it did kind of get a laugh out of me because of how random it is. He's also killed in an explosion, but because this isn't a fan favorite character like Clear Rivers or Kratos, it feels much more deserved in this case, and actually kind of funny. What's your review on William Bloodworth and He Is Death Incarnated, or the Sarah Connor of Survivors? I do think Tony Todd's Bloodworth is actually Death. I do believe the theory that Bloodsworth is indeed Death, the living embodiment of him, and he's giving them clues on how to survive because he's kind of toying with them. Like, we don't get a clear indication if Death is truly evil or not, at least for the first few films, so I do believe he is giving them, like, some kind of challenge, like, kind of like a Riddler in a way. He's toying with them, giving them false clues that they can defeat him and overcome Death, and to be fair, he does actually help them, which is why I do think Death isn't fully evil, but we'll see if Bloodlines clears any of that up. Like, it's weird, like, Death have no mercy for those victims. Again, Death has a sadistic sense of humor, and I do think Bloodsworth kind of shows that whenever they go to the coroner's office or he talks to characters, he does kind of casually joke about all the people he died, so again, strong theory that he actually is Death incarnate. Yeah, I do believe the theory that he is the embodiment of Death, or the closest we'll get to him. But now we're finally on Final Destination 3, the middle chapter. So let's do the roller coaster death. So we meet Wendy, played by everyone's fanboy crush in the 2000s, Mary Elizabeth Winstead. She and her high school friends are basically having a graduation party, and they go to this Knott's Berry Farm / Disneyland amusement park where a roller coaster accident happens, and it is pretty cool, honestly. The only thing that kind of diminishes it is the hokey CGI. Final Destination 3 basically indulged in the 3D craze, and some of the CGI has aged a bit poorly because they were made with 3D effects in mind, but the accident is pretty cool. I will put it on high A tier. Like Death have no form, like he is a shadow, or Tony Todd is Death, and maybe we get Keith David to be the next Death. Yeah, I could see that working. Keith David would definitely take up Tony Todd's steed. The roller coaster death gets an A, dull machete kill. Yeah, it did. There's like one guy who just gets his head sliced off by a random rebar. So the roller coaster scene actually is pretty cool. They take a lot of creative liberties with this one because, as James A. Janice and even Film Brain pointed out, there are safety protocols that would actually prevent a lot of half the deaths that happen on this roller coaster ride gone wrong, but I do think it's pretty cool, pretty intense, and does give you a fear of amusement park rides going wrong, so it does get some slack from me. I do think this premonition is A tier. It is awesome. The only thing I don't like like about it is the CGI. They do try to do a lot of 3D effects in this movie, and from this point onward, we're gonna get a lot of 3D deaths in Final Destination, half of which work and half of which do not. Looking at you, movie 4. But this one, I think is pretty alright. It'll go on A. But as a character, did you like him? Did Tony Todd nail it? Legendary and the writers write it well? Oh yeah, I fully believe that. I fully believe Tony Todd knocked it out of the park. I mean, I did a Final Destination movie ranking in honor of Tony Todd's death, so yeah, I do like him. I like Tony Todd as Bloodsworth. I know it's not iconic like Candyman, but Tony Todd is awesome in practically everything. They have a game on the DVD edition where all got the alternate ending. Notice how I never said anything about the dentist death in FD2. I was shuddering in the comments section. I know you did, Bodhi. But yeah, Bodhi, we're on FD3 now, so you're safe. And talking about Mary Elizabeth Winstead, who played your favorite green gal, Hera. But yeah, I like the roller coaster scene. We'll put it on A. Alright, but now, actual death games with the tanning bed. Yeah, the tanning bed death. This one, going on to S tier. It is awesome. I really like how hot the girls are. We do get some great nude scenes in this movie. Two hot girls, the Ashley twins, they get naked and are having basically a tan session. They're on a tanning bed, and of course things go horribly wrong. They get locked in their tanning beds and set on fire completely through a lot of freak accidents. They brought like their Slurpee in, and it like short circuits the electrical wiring, and they basically get burned to death. They get the tan of a lifetime, and it leads to one of the greatest transitions where they're both being burned alive in their tanning beds, and we cut to them having twin coffins, which is hilarious. I love that death scene. Yeah, and also the girls are pretty hot. I forget the other girl's name. I know Shalane Simmons is also one of the girls. Yeah, they're pretty hot. Get some great nude scenes in FD3, which made it all the more better. The tanning bed is iconic. It absolutely is. Like the comics version should, that the final girl named Kali, which is Hindu for goddess of death. That would be pretty cool. Like they die by cancer. They were pretty addicted to those, yeah. What's your opinion on the video camera on the roller coaster accident? If the pervert boy wasn't there, how the accident would go on? I do think the roller coaster death would have still happened, but I think something else would have knocked them off the train tracks. We do see there were a lot of loose screws and bolts and rebar clearly being bent to hurt them, so yeah. Yeah, I do think random metal or something someone was carrying would have fallen off. Like they have slushies near electronics, which is dangerous. Well, the two girls are basically bimbos, so of course they didn't know any better and only sped up their demise. They're both named Ashley. Yeah, they're the Ashley twins. And once you get to FD5, I'm continuing to hide. That laser eye surgery scene screws me up too. Yeah, Bodhi, we'll get to that. Yeah, Ashley Frund and Ashley Halperin. Yeah, they're not like actual blood siblings, but pretty much sisters. The tanning bed death is iconic. It is one of the greatest and most intense moments. It's hot, it's psychotic, it's basically pure fire. I love it, and the transition to the twin coffins is absolutely hilarious. It is S tier Final Destination death quality, so going high up. But next we get Pervert Boy, and this one a bit weaker. So, as Mary Elizabeth Winstead and her totally not love interest are in a McDonald's drive-thru arguing, a truck basically stops them. It's like has them held up in a drive-thru. They're honking at the guy to go faster, but a U-Haul is falling downhill and they barely escape their car, and it sends the car's engine right out after bumping into the back, flying, and it goes into this guy's head. This guy up ahead driving a convertible, the car engine flies out, and the engine's fan slices his brains. It is a very ridiculous, over-the-top death scene, and this is the Pervert Boy. We find out he's one of the roller coaster riders who was supposed to also die, making Mary Elizabeth Winstead and her not love interest realize they're on death's list. And this one was a bit goofier. I might put it onto B, under the BBQ Death. The tanning death is so disturbing because of the effect skin creates bubbles and bursting. Yeah, that was also pretty gnarly makeup they did. Like James from Dead Meat talking about how his life about tanning bed and he hates his arm almost got cancer. Fun fact, the director said the little pervert boy was meant to survive because he was no part of Wendy's class. Yeah, that kind of made people hate him more though, because basically he graduated from high school and is stalking and trying to flirt with underage high school girls. Basically he's like a full-blown college boy, still sticking around his old high school friends, which, yeah, kind of creeps some people out. Personally, I don't think that would matter, but he's a huge pervert, so it does here. Yeah, his death scene of being spliced by the car engine, kind of ridiculous even by this series standards. I will put it onto B, and basically they kind of get over his death completely because he was a dick who nobody liked. Also, I think people agreed that his death scene should have had the engine splatter his head instead of landing in the back seat and slicing his skull. Like we almost thought he was gonna die by a SpongeBob SquarePants statue since the pineapple under the sea picture. After this is followed by the dumb jock who's in the gymnasium. This is the guy who's like working out and bragging that death won't stop him. Then some weird Rube Goldberg accidents happen, swords go falling and nearly behead him. Then he brags he's invincible, only to find out his exercise machine was spliced, and the exercise weights fall down and crush his head in a weird CGI scene. This one, it's a funny death too, but I might put it on to B because, once again, the CGI and 3D effects kind of held it back, and you also don't care about the character who died, making it a lot more meh. What's your thoughts, or what's your opinions on the alternate fates on the DVD? Unfortunately, mine did not come with the little mini game that everyone played. I got a box set basically from Walmart, and it just played the movie. It did not give me the options to play around with the alternate fates. Like how the Sabers of the Sultan, since their team is the Sultans. Instead of getting plastic sabers, yeah, they had real swords up there in a gym. So, I thought the Gymnasium Death, it's alright. Not one of my favorites, but seeing the guy get his head splattered after he brags about how invincible he is pretty funny, so it's totally not bad, but also not one of the greatest scenes in this movie. So I'll put it on B. This is then followed up by the goth chick being killed by the nail gun. They go to warn Styx from the Scarecrow Walks at Midnight episode and his girlfriend, who's also a emo goth chick. Basically, they're at like this Home Depot, and after a series of accidents, she falls back and triggers a nail gun, which pierces her in the back of the head and keeps going off. Apparently, Death is holding the trigger down somehow, and she's shot multiple times with the nail gun. This one I actually thought was pretty good, but could use some improvement. We might put it on low A. So, how did you guys feel about the weird nail gun death? I know some people hate it, some people love it. I do kind of like it. Not one of the better death scenes, but also does give you that fear that random objects could easily kill you at any time, which is why I cut it some slack too. The nail gun death, pretty gruesome and pretty brutal, and it actually kills a character who kind of deserved to die, which is why I kind of like it more. Death keeps splashing them with blood every time they try to defeat Death. When is your next Power Rangers live tier list? possibly this weekend. I'm aiming for Friday, but it also might be Saturday depending on what happens. I got some errands going on. But yeah, I might do it Friday or Saturday, and I want to do the Red Rangers. So for my Power Rangers fans, yeah, we do have one coming up. This I'm kind of doing because Final Destination 6 is on the rise. It got a golden chainsaw of Aaron Ulmer. Okay, so James A. Janice does agree with me. It is pretty good. Yeah, I'll put it on 8 here. I do like this death scene. Unfortunately, the next one I don't, where one of Mary Elizabeth Winstead's sister's random-ass friends who gets impaled on a spear. Yeah, imagine being in a Final Destination movie that has some of the greatest blood and gore and death scenes in horror cinema, and your death is basically getting stabbed. Yeah, that's it. She's stabbed by a spear. An explosion happens at the 4th of July fair. It sends, of course, a lot of debris flying, and this random background character who was on the roller coaster gets impaled by a spear. That is her entire death scene. Yeah, it's gone straight onto F. Straight onto F. Yeah, that's right. I think Final Destination 3 counts as a 4th of July movie. Yeah, it is like summer break, and the climax happens at this 4th of July carnival, where everyone's all decked out in Patriot gear, and the love interest is working at the fireworks stand, so yeah, basically this random chick, her death scene, pretty lame. Unfortunately, it's followed up by Styx from Goosebumps, the Scarecrow Walks at Midnight, who gets ironically killed by the sign. Yeah, what was his name? Like McFarley or something? Yeah, basically, this emo kid completely snaps, blames Mary Elizabeth Winstead for the death of his girlfriend. He basically stalks and harasses them at the fair and tries to get them killed, only to end up on death's list himself. Yeah, this is actually Styx from The Scarecrow Walks at Midnight. He's chasing them, the fireworks go off, and he brags that they missed him, and the sign, which ironically has his name written on it, falls down and crushes him like a bug, in a very well-deserved death. I guess this guy was supposed to be an antagonist, but not a very effective one. So, his death I will also put onto A, because it is also pretty funny and very well deserved. He gets squashed like a bug, basically, and goes out giving the finger to death. McKinley, okay, thank you. McKinley celebration sign kills him. Yeah, how embarrassing is it that I'm named after the school? Her name is Perry Melanwansky. Well, I didn't remember her. She's like a background character. Like, that's not me forgetting. This character down low literally was just in the background the entire time. Yeah, Ian McKinley, his death, very well deserved and pretty awesome. Yeah, it is a very radical death scene, so I will put it on to A, because it was very awesome that the villain gets squashed by a sign with his name on it, basically like a bug, and Death giving him the finger in turn. So yeah, that was a pretty cool death, and James A. Janice did show that they underwent a lot of CGI and practical effects to make it look real, and I will say it did actually pay off, which is why it's so high. But then we get to the twist ending, the subway death scene. So, also gonna upset some people. I do have some mixed feelings on this one, mostly because, once again, a lot of CGI is involved. Basically, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, her sister, and her love interest happen to be riding on the same New York subway, and then Death triggers an accident akin to the roller coaster incident where he gets them all. They all get killed. One guy gets ripped out of the window like here, as you can see. And Mary Elizabeth Winstead's very badly bruised and beaten, has a broken leg. She crawls out only to see an oncoming train ram her. Then we reveal that was actually a premonition of it happening anyway, ending on kind of a vague, ambiguous ending where Mary Elizabeth Winstead might be dead, or she might have somehow survived all that because she saw it happen, but yeah, more of a vague twist ending. So, the subway death, not one of the best twist endings, but I might put it on high B. I know a lot of people love that subway crash. The best part is easily it leads to the end credits song. Feel around the world. Join hands. Join the love train. Love train. Yeah, Love Train is an awesome song, not gonna lie. And it feels like they only included that scene just for that awesome end credits music. He was celebrating, he was not gonna die, and the sign that says celebrate kills him. Okay. Like it's weird, like McKinley's sign killed him. Like his name is Kevin Feischer. I think that's the actor's name. So, the subway death scene I thought was pretty fine, but once again, some spotty CGI. As you can see, someone gets killed, like being thrown out the window, and they smear, and the effect looks a lot more cartoonish in motion. I get what they're trying to go for. It's a freak train accident and kind of reminding you of the roller coaster accident, which was also kind of like a train accident. Mary Elizabeth Winstead might be dead or she might be alive. It is never clarified, and knowing that Mary Elizabeth Winstead is now famous and rich beyond recognition now is probably not going to come back to this saga. Like JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, have a stand named Wanderer of You, which is an anime death of Final Destination. Okay, I never watched JoJo's Bizarre Adventures. My brother Wolf is the anime fan. Anyways, the subway death, I think it's B. It's definitely an alright twist ending, but the hokey CGI is what drops it down a few pegs. But Love Train is awesome, so I'll cut it some slack. It'll be high B. But yeah, that completes FT3. Oh wait, Mary Elizabeth Winstead is on here. Okay, so she did die. Alright, we'll put her on definitely the same. Put her on B. Yeah, apparently this tier list is counting Mary Elizabeth Winstead as dead. So if that train did ram and kill her, also going on to B, because like Carter's death, it is also off-screen. Like, we don't see it happen. We see the train ramming towards her at bullet speed. She screams and fade to black. It is exactly like Carter's death scene. You don't see it happen, so that is kind of a disappointment. Yeah, looks like we completed Final Destination 3. Oh wait, here's the bizarre wood shipper accident. Yeah, this one also goes straight on to F. I believe they tried to retcon that the sheriff and Kimberly were both killed in a mysterious wood shipper accident, which we never actually see, and it feels like a complete cop-out to get rid of those characters. That one's going on to F. There is nothing more embarrassing than off-screen deaths of main characters, so do not like it. Alright, gonna use my first restroom break, so get excited because we're hopping into the final destination. If you guys want me to jump ahead to a death scene, go ahead and cast a vote, but I'll be right back. Alright, Cat's back aboard the love train. Prepare for the horror of the Final Destination. The fourth one, no. I found you watching your Power Rangers videos. Okay, thanks, Black Knight Mon. Yeah, I plan to add a few more, but unfortunately, time is not very kind to me. Working on a whole bunch of other stuff. Finished Night of the Living Dummy 3, which is now available on Patreon. Check that out. Yeah, almost done with Goosebumps. I've been doing that too, but want to get back to the Power Rangers. I know a lot of people love those tier lists, so we'll get back to it eventually, but wanted to build up hype for Final Destination 6 first. Alright, so now we finally talk about the infamous fourth movie, and we gotta start with the race car scene. Okay, so this actually starts out pretty cool. They're at a NASCAR event, basically, watching the races, and after a freak accident, a car goes flying into the audience, causing a massive car crash, killing people in the stands. And this one actually starts out really cool, really gnarly. And then we see the god-awful CGI and 3D effects, which sucked out all the tension. Going straight on to C, there was a spark of hope there. It started out so cool, but then when you see the cartoony debris hitting people and the funny ceiling coming down, crushing people to death, it looks worse than a Power Rangers episode. That is how bad the fourth movie's effects are. Well, my mom saw Final Destination 1, and it still haunts her. That's because FD1 actually had some credibility. But did watch it, and I wasn't scared. Like, feels like a cartoon like Looney Tunes. Yeah, it was almost good, and the sad thing is, if you watch James A. Janice's Dead Meat Kill Count on this movie, they actually did have cool practical effects and legit stunt work for this movie, only for them to randomly add CGI to it in post, and the CGI pretty much killed all their efforts. This movie does not look good. It looks like a CW show, in all honesty. The fourth movie traded up to an HD camera style, and while some shots do look cleaner and fresher than the original trilogy, the effects are definitely not good, and that is bad because Final Destination is great for its awesome effects and kill scenes, and this movie has some of the worst. And the premonition is definitely a red flag of things to come. So next we have random racist guy's wife who was killed off screen, so yep, also going into F. Then we have the girl, the mechanic guy's wife, who gets crushed to death by a flying tire. Which also going straight on to F. The two wives basically get killed. They're like with their redneck husbands. One guy's a mechanic. One is a very blatant racist, so kind of question what she sees in him. Basically, their husbands went out during like a fight scene after the premonition, and they both get killed by debris. One completely off screen, and another killed in a hilariously god-awful 3D effect, where a random tire goes flying out and crushes her to death. And have Mortal Kombat X-ray moments. Yeah, that did happen in this movie. Cynthia Daniels, I did not bother remembering their names. But fortunately, we do get a funny death. The racist guy from the NASCAR incident gets his comeuppance, and he's basically going to put burning crosses on this black family's lawn, where he gets his ironic and poetic death, where his truck activates by itself, accidentally chains him. He's like riding a tow truck. He gets set on fire, and he's basically drawn and quartered like a slave, how like slaves would be executed. Basically give him an ironic death where he's dragged by a car to his death while Why Can't We Be Friends plays, which I'll admit, pretty funny. This one might go up onto B tier just because of how funny and absurd it is. Yeah, I know it is a very goofy-ass, ridiculous dark comedy scene, but the racist guy's death is easily the best death because not only is it well-deserved, but it is absolutely hilarious. Easily the best death in the fourth movie. He's racist Carter. Okay, Carter. Okay. Yeah, we had two Carters in this. The racist guy's death actually is pretty funny. If you watch the fourth movie, I recommend just watching this scene alone, because not only does the guy get kind of his comeuppance and poetic justice, but they really go over the top funny with it. Final Destination 4 is a full-blown dark comedy, and I think this death kind of did a better job setting the mood for the rest of the movie. Easily the best death scene in movie 4. Then we get to the mom, the soccer mom who was at the NASCAR. Basically, this one is a fake-out scene. You're led to believe she's gonna die some horrible death related to a barber shop visit. She's like going to like a salon, getting her hair cut. She's sitting in this very faulty chair, a lot of sharp objects around. She almost falls numerous times where you think she's gonna get stabbed by like scissors that someone's clipping her with, only to reveal that nope, she was fine. Then when she steps outside, a gardener mowing the lawn accidentally knocks a pebble flying at her through the face and it headshots her. This almost looks good, but then the bad CGI kicks in and it looks kind of hilarious. Feels lamer than Johnny Cage car fatality in MK1. Yeah, Samantha Lane. The only things good in the movie, the protagonist, the racist death, the car wash, and the electric stairs, the escalator. Also, poor kid's death kills his mom in front of her kids. Yeah, that honestly could have been a scene that made the movie serious, because the kids are playing around and she more or less gets headshot. Don't worry, lawnmowers cannot propel things flying at you in the face like in this movie. They just did that for the, oh, common objects can kill you at any time kind of fear. It almost works, but the bad CGI kicks in and once again aims for comedy, going on to D. Okay, I'm realizing this is the mechanic's death. Okay, then we get the main characters are trying to talk to everyone who survived the NASCAR race crash. They go see the redneck mechanic and try to help him, and he gets another ridiculous death scene where he's working at the auto shop. Basically, he is a mechanic, and Death sends an oxygen canister or something flying across the auto shop, and it impales him on a chain link fence, which would hurt like hell, but I don't think it would kill him, and the chain link fence is apparently so sharp it slices him to pieces. Yeah, it's kind of hard to tell, but this is the face where this is the chain link fence where his body's getting sent into it, and it kind of Play-Dohs him to death. It looks god-awful. Also going on to D. Where's the mechanic's bones? Is he made of plastic? Yeah, apparently his rib cage also got sliced in that chain link fence. It is kind of like a Play-Doh looking effect where he gets launched by the canister into the fence, and apparently it was so strong, both the fence and the canister launching him, that it Play-Doh'd his entire body through the fence. Well, I should say more so his torso. He does still have a lot of body remaining, but the effect is really ruined by the god-awful 3D effect and CGI. It is a badly butchered death scene, and to make matters worse, James A. Janice actually showed what it originally looked like, and it did look better as a practical effect. Like, unless you are Doughy the Dough Man, like, feel more like from Looney Tunes. Yeah, it is, once again, a dark comedy death scene, and does not work. It just looks goofy. Sorry, catch up on comments. Alright, next we get the pool death. So, this is where the main character's douchebag friend gets a dark but inventive kill. His friend works as a lifeguard at the public community swimming pool. He goes down swimming to fix something, and he, I kid you not, gets his butt sucked through the pool cleaning vent. They have, like, the drain down there, which is supposed to clean the pool, and apparently it's so strong that it sucks him down. It, like, sucks his butt and rips his intestines out through his butt. Yeah, seriously. He gets gutted by a pool vent. It all goes down, and we see the guts coming in the pipes. It actually is a pretty fun and inventive scene. It is a underwater death, but When you have to say it out loud, it does sound kind of silly. It looks like a celebrity deathmatch death scene. It does. It got the golden chainsaw. Hunt, that was his name. Yeah, Hunt Wynorski. Yeah, he's a lifeguard. He works at the public pool. He swam down to basically fix something, only for the vents to completely come off and he gets sucked through his butt. He loses his guts, basically. Yeah, he gets his guts sucked out through his butt on the drain. I kid you not, that is how he dies, and we see the guts come through the pipes, and basically the pool turns into a massive blood pool from his death, which is pretty cool. This one, I might put onto high C, because it is a fun and inventive kill scene, but when you get down to it, it is another ridiculous, over-the-top comedy death. Like, it's weird, that vacuum death from Benny, I love you. Yeah, it is a much more cartoonier death scene. I know some people really love it, but me didn't really hate it, but also don't really love it all that much because it is still kind of goofy even by this franchise's standards. This one I will put onto C. Fun and inventive, but still he loses his organs through being sucked out of his butt. That is pure ridiculousness. Going on to C. Speaking of which, we do have a disappointing death. The Texan guy in the hospital. If you don't remember, one of the guys actually got injured. He's in the hospital, and apparently above his room, he's like in critical care, and above it on the top floor, there's a wading pool used to help bathe some patients, and there's another old racist guy waiting for his bath, and they basically leave the bath running. Apparently that happens at hospitals, and the pool comes down. It's like overflowing and flooded on the top floor, and it crushes this guy to death. Like we get Jonathan Groves, the cowboy death by wading pool. Yeah, it is once again, another ridiculous death scene. Well, first off, who puts like a pool above the critical care section of the hospital? And yeah, basically the pool flooded so much that it comes crashing down on him, killing him. That is how this poor guy dies. Also going on to D. We'll put it above the mechanic's death, but just barely. It is a complete dud of a death, and doesn't help that we weren't even attached to this guy. I completely forgot he was even a character in the movie. They are all pretty forgettable. Then next we have the guy being ran over by a hospital ambulance. So, the main character and this black security guard became total bros throughout the movie, and I actually did care about this character, and as they're having a conversation about stopping death, out of nowhere he gets hit by a truck. Yep, we brought it back. Another guy gets rammed by a truck to death, and once again, it is pretty hilarious, but unfortunately it happened to a character I liked. Like, the only likable guy in the movie gets rammed by a car by freak accident, and it is a bit of a rehash. We will be putting it onto B. We'll put him under Mary Elizabeth Winstead's death, but it's funny, it is funny, and a nice callback to the first movie, but once again, they killed the only character I cared about in the fourth movie, so a very abrupt and anticlimactic end to him. Like no hospital showers? Apparently not. Feels like a lame Mortal Kombat fatality than an arcade machine death. Yeah. Black security guard, you deserve better. He's gone on to B. And finally, we made it, guys, to the twist ending. Just after the main hero saved the day and all the survivors are having a party at a coffee shop. They're at like some Starbucks. Out of nowhere, a truck hits all three of them and kills them Mortal Kombat X-ray vision style. Yes, really, after all that, it ends like a scary movie or superhero movie where the main character just gets rammed down and killed. This one going on to B. I'll put it under Clear Rivers because I actually cared about Clear, but yeah, the three main characters who survived all the bad events just get hit by a truck like as if this was Scary Movie or Epic Movie where the main character just gets killed at the end. Like the cowboy has the dull machete. George Lanter. Okay, that was his name. Yeah, sorry, I don't care about the fourth movie, so I didn't bother remembering any of them. Like Lori Milligan gets beheaded by a semi-truck. Yeah, we do get a cool Mortal Kombat X-ray vision effect where it plays a montage of every death scene in the franchise, because if you didn't know, the Final Destination was supposed to be the finale movie, but it sucked so much that they made a fifth movie, which mercifully was much better and a great upgrade to the franchise. So yeah, it's going on dud. The twist ending of this was easily the lamest in this saga. And it is easily the only ending going on to D. But now we made it to currently the last Final Destination movie before Bloodlines is released this weekend. FD5. And we'll start with the freeway. Yep, the giant bridge coming down. This one actually will go on to S. Yep, finally back to S-rank deaths again. So this is the premonition. Basically, a bunch of workers are going on like a retreat. They're on a bus, and they're going over a large bridge, going over like the ocean, and basically a horrible bridge accident occurs. The bridge completely collapses. Everything's coming down. The weight is too much for it, and yeah, it falls down, and it is a very intense, scary scene. A lot of cool effects. Very savage death scenes. A guy gets like covered in tar. One girl actually falls down off the bridge, and she doesn't get killed by the fall. She gets impaled on a boat. Yeah, that really happens. FD5, the redemption arc. Yeah, it pretty much was for this franchise. Like, what's next? A concert death victims for FD7 in Japan or New Zealand? That would be pretty cool. So, the bridge falling out, it is a very cool effect and much better than the last death beginning incident than movie 4, where basically a huge bridge is falling down, and it did remind me of the highway accident. There's nothing scarier than getting into an accident on the road, so it's going on to S for sure. Alright, now we have one of the more creepy and intense scenes, the gymnasium scene. Yep, it's on here, and don't worry, it is kind of obscured so you don't see the horrific violence. The gymnasium scene, it is very intense and very creepy. It's going on to S tier. I'll put it under the lotto winner getting impaled in his apartment, but yeah, it is a very scary and intense scene, especially because you see like these very sharp screws and nails fall off, where in a gymnasium, one of the characters is watching his girlfriend basically win an award at a gymnastics show. She's on there. We see this very scary, like, spike pin land on one of the gymnastics equipment, and it is very intense. You're worried that somebody's gonna step on it. The girl actually misses it, but unfortunately someone else steps on it, causing a chain reaction of events where the girl is brutally killed while performing on one of the gymnastics equipment, and her body is completely twisted, destroyed, and we actually see like bones sticking out. It is creepy, brutal, savage, and super intense, which is why it's going on to S tier, because it is creepy from beginning to end. Candace Hooper gets crushed into a pretzel, then the hot dog girl in the haunting hour stage fright. Final Destination, the bridge lawsuit. Ha 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 ha. The North Bay Bridge. Okay, that's what it was. Like, why not use AC than a fan that blows chalk? Yeah, pretty gruesome death. Going on to S tier for sure because of how intense it is. Up next is Bolin's death at the massage parlor. Yeah, the voice actor of Bolin from Legend of Korra, which sucks, goes to this random massage parlor because he had a coupon, and he's given the hilarious death. He has, like, these basically acupuncture needles put into him. He's lying on the massage table, and the table completely breaks. He falls over and stabs himself even further on the acupuncture needles, which is gruesome, but I don't think is how it would work in real life. I think in real life the pins would kind of snap because they're not very agile like a person is. Also, Candace Hooper have the golden chainsaw. Yeah, it was a pretty wicked kill. So, I do like seeing Bolin suffer because he's the most annoying character on Korra. Basically, he's trapped in this massage parlor, gets brutally injured by the acupuncture pins, impaling him even further, desperately crawling for help. It, of course, catches fire because he's stupid, and he tries reaching up to get a balance and knocks down a shelf where, I kid you not, a Buddha statue falls, killing him, as kind of a metaphor for bringing peace, because he was the most annoying character in the movie. This one is kind of funny, but also kind of gross. I might put him on to B tier. Yeah, I'll put him over the subway death, that's it. Yeah, seeing Bolin suffer is pretty hilarious because I hated him on Legend of Korra, but getting killed by the Buddha statue is a pretty funny joke because it brought peace and basically killed him and put him out of his misery. It is a funny death scene. We'll put him on B. Battle of the Death Battle Perverts. How Death was the best head splice pervert or head slash pervert. But up next is my friend Bodhi's favorite scene, the laser surgery gone wrong. So we follow Olivia, the hot chick of the movie, who wants to get laser eye surgery because she hates wearing glasses. She's like this total hot chick who looks kind of like a brunette Kendricks. She wants to lose her glasses and look like a model again, and she goes to get laser eye surgery, where, of course, Death plays with the LASIK laser, and it literally, ruins her face. It, sets her on fire, burns out her eyes, and I'm not sure if this is actually how lasers and eye surgery actually work, but it is a pretty gnarly scene. This one I will put onto A tier. Yeah, I'll put it under McKinley's death scene because that was a lot funnier. Olivia gets her eyes lasered, and I guess the laser slashes her face too. It does look good, but unfortunately, some of the bad effects really kicked in. FD5 is another 3D movie, and yeah, it looks kind of cartoony when she gets set aflame and her eyeballs actually pop out from when she falls out of the laser chair, and one of them goes flying out the window. It is kind of gruesome at first, but then turn comedic. Can you fall from slipping on a bear eye toy? Probably not. You'd think the bear eye would smash into a million pieces because it's literally a marble, but yeah. So Velma, if she don't want to wear her glasses, yeah, kind of. Looked like Linda Cardellini, Velma. Yes, Buddha kills both Isaac Palmer and Hajun in Record of Ragnarok. Yeah, that was his name, Isaac. Also, the eye rip from the teddy bear is mentioned in her death. Yeah, once again, foreshadowing clues laying out their looming demise. So, this one actually is pretty awesome. Unfortunately, bad CGI and the comedic end she faces kind of dropped it down a tad. So, we'll put it on A. It is awesome, but could have been improved. Then next we get to the random douchebag worker who falls off the scaffolding at his factory and gets impaled on a hook. This one I will put also onto, I might put it onto high B at least. Not as funny as the racist guy's death, but this one also pretty brutal. Basically, he's a jerk towards his younger coworker because he's a hard worker while he's an office drone, and during the fight, he falls off the factory scaffolding and gets impaled on a hook at sheer random, and this counted as killing a person, and we learned the black guy actually lives because he's no longer on Death's list thanks to this accident. This one I think pretty alright, but also, again, kind of ridiculous, because out of all the things that could have killed him, he lands straight on a hook, which apparently impaled him through his skull, and it did pierce his brain, which foreshadows the comedic twist. That was so brutal. Yeah, Roy Carson. Like the hook is mentioned as a devil horn. Okay, that's what it was supposed to symbolize. I think it was supposed to also foreshadow, because they mentioned in the twist ending this guy had a brain tumor and the hook pierces his brain. Well, yeah, that is their clever way of foreshadowing the twist that he was already on Death's list. So I'll put it on B. It was pretty decent, but also unintentionally hilarious. Speaking of which, the follow-up death is also kind of comedic. The douchebag boss who gets hit by the random wrench flying at him. This is the annoying douche boss at the factory. He's complaining to the main characters, and while they're talking, I kid you not, a wrench that was left on the table goes near a fan, and it actually launches it at his face, killing him. It is a huge step down from how he died on the bridge, so this one I might put onto C. Yeah, I would put on a C. Now, granted, it is a realistic death, which some people were frightened of, but also, again, kind of comedic. It's kind of their stand-in for the getting hit by a car kind of death. I thought it was alright. We'll put it on to C tier. Not as cool as the tar searing him. I was hoping he'd get a more brutal demise because they're in a factory, but no, it didn't happen. All deaths in FD5 occur exactly as the same in the premonition, literally. Yeah, Dennis Latman. I did not like his death scene as much as his premonition death. That's why he's being dropped down to C. Yeah, a wrench flies at him in the face and that killed him. Very lame. Alright. Speaking of which, the detective. During the climax of FD5, we actually have a human villain. The main character's best friend completely turns to the dark side. He shows up at the Chinese restaurant, basically, to murder his best friend and his girlfriend because he believed that'll get him off of Death's list if he straight up kills them. We find out the girlfriend actually survived the premonition, meaning that if he kills her, then he can finally get her life force and basically avoid Death's wrath. And the detective who's been investigating all movies shows up and he just gets shot. Yeah, really. This guy, the black guy right here, just gets shot by the best friend character during his psychotic rampage. Again, imagine being in a Final Destination movie, which has some of the most creative, fantastical death scenes, and you're just shot. Yeah, you're just shot. Agent Block. Anything with eyes or teeth scare me so much, though I thought Saw X's take on it was much more gruesome with the eye vacuum tubes. Okay, Bodhi, you're back. You finally came up after we got over Olivia's death. He is Cuban McQuaken in Harvey Birdman. Okay, I've not watched that show in a long time. He got a dull machete. Yeah, I agree. Getting shot is easily one of the lamest death scenes ever. He's gone straight on to F. I know it is a pivotal plot point in the movie, but considering we're ranking based on death scenes, it is very lame. He's going on to F for sure. Speaking of which, I believe this is the douchey friend. Yeah, he gets killed by the kitchen appliances, ironically, in the same way that he got impaled on the bridge accident. This guy shows up, he tries to kill the main character, they fight him, and he gets impaled by the kitchen equipment, killing him. This was a slight step up. I will put this one onto B. Yeah, the main villain, essentially. Main character finally stands up for himself, and he manages to win victory by killing his evil best friend. He's killed in a freak kitchen accident, and it resembles how he died on the bridge. He, got impaled before falling, and here he gets impaled before falling. My grandma's having bed sores. I had to get off for a minute, and I just missed Olivia's death. Haha. Well, God is on your side there, Bodhi. He spared you that horrible fate. Also, Uncle Earl and Hannah Montana. getting shot or run by a car is merciful in Final Destination, in the Final Destination universe. Peter Friedkin, yeah, that was his name. Yeah, I thought his death was pretty decent, not as grandiose as a lot of the other deaths though, which is why I'll put it on to B. It is a basic death scene, but a very satisfying one, so we'll put it up there. Alright, speaking of which, we have 2 that involve the plane. So, after everything's settled, we get our twist ending. FD5 is actually a prequel set before the first movie, and the main character and his girlfriend are going on vacation, and they're going on Flight 180. Yep, Alex Browning and his class are sharing the same flight, and basically, because they survived, death is still after them, and this is how he gets them. They were on Flight 180 when it blew up. Well, one of them gets blown up, the girlfriend goes flying out the window in midair, and this one actually is pretty cool. I'll put her on A tier for sure. Yeah, the girlfriend gets sucked out of the plane and is sent free falling. It turns out the girlfriend was that lady in the premonition who got sent flying out the window, which I did like, and falling to your death, pretty horrifying. And the main character basically is the one who gets burned. He gets Alex's death, being incinerated in the airplane before it blows up. So, airplane going up next to the other airplane scene. It is pretty cool, honestly. I know it's an iconic scene from Final Destination, so yeah, pretty brutal death. We'll put him on A. All death resembles the premonition, but the Denny's. He was played by Miles Fisher. He was Titan in Destiny 2, never played it, and Jay Sebring in Wolves at the Door, never heard of it. So yeah, we'll have them share basically the airplane death scene because they are pretty much the same death scene. Yeah, sorry if you wanted it to be on S tier, but we're connecting them all together as one. Yeah, main character dies getting blown up on the plane, or the girlfriend getting flown out the window, falling to her death. Pretty gruesome, and I did like the twist ending. Pretty nice finale, all things considered. Unfortunately, FD Bloodlines is going to come along and be the sequel that'll either make or break this franchise. But we're not done yet. We got one more. Yep, we got a double twist ending. So the guy from earlier who thought he escaped death's grasp actually gets a phone call, and we find out the guy who got impaled on the hook here was actually already dying of cancer, meaning that he didn't actually kill him. He was already on death's list and was doomed to die. And a jet engine from the airplane falls down and kills him. Yep, this is the black guy who gets killed at the end of the movie in the double twist, kind of in like a post-credit scene, but also pretty funny. It is a humorous dark comedy death scene. I will put his death onto B. Yeah, that might upset some people, but this one going straight onto B. I do find it pretty funny that, yep, he's back on death's list again, and in the second he finds out that he wasn't actually safe, he gets killed by a random jet engine crashing into the bar and splattering him. You can see one of their severed arms here. Getting torn apart by the plane arm. Like never see a death by gorilla. Nathan Sears. We'll see what Bloodlines does. But yeah, that completes our list. All the death scenes. I do find it pretty funny. It is a hilarious twist, but very blink and you'll miss it death scene, which is why it's going on to B, because the jet engine falls and he's replaced by CGI and 3D effects, which did kind of knock it down. Once again, this is mid-2000s CGI, so some of it's good, some of it is very sketchy, and this one kind of lands on the sketchy side. I think it's pretty decent, though. We'll put it on to B. Like, why didn't get destroyed Flight 180 to shut down the plane, like I see a lot of planes get shut down in the past? Well, it's the world of fiction, so you gotta have fun stuff happen. But yeah, that completes our tier list. Sorry, any Bloodlines viewers in the future, if you were hoping that would make it on here. The movie's not out yet. It's coming out this weekend, and we might be doing this whole tier list all over again. Hopefully with Wolf next time, but yeah. This pretty much completes it for today. We talked about the original saga, the first 5 movies, to get you hyped for that 6th movie. So, I'm very curious to see what happens in the 6th movie. We know some people are gonna fall out of a tower, some guy gets his tongue pierced and caught on a hook, Hellraiser style. Sounds like we're gonna be in for more crazy death scenes. I know we did kind of criticize a few, but as you can see, we got a lot of good death scenes. Some average, but a lot of good. Some weak, but not as many as you'd think. Don't let the pictures fool you. These are definitely duds, but got a lot of positive to talk about this series because Final Destination does know its blood and gore very well. Lawnmower Death, yeah, that one's down here. The girl who got headshot by the lawnmower, she's on D. Yeah, if you want to ask me what character ended where, you'll have to ask me now before we wrap up. What a list. New fears unlocked. Yeah, Bodhi, I know you liked this saga, even with the teeth scene. Like Final Destination characters tier list, I'm not sure I'll do one because most of the characters are either bland or intentionally unlikable. It doesn't really excite me all that much. The death scenes are what people talk about when they think Final Destination. But yeah, that completes our tier list. I'll go over it one last time for any of you late birds showing up, or for those of you who just skipped to the end to see where everyone landed. So, rock bottom, we have the stupid racist guy's wife who got killed off screen, and by cartoonish debris at that. This is easily the worst death scene. Speaking of which, also got what I believe are Kimberly and the sheriff's death scenes from a wood chipper accident. Strangely, Alex Browning's case didn't end up on here, but don't worry, Alex would have been on F too. Yeah, killing characters off screen, isn't that fun? Going on to F. Then we have the mechanic's wife, the detective, and random background girl who all really didn't matter in the grand scheme of things and had some very disappointing deaths in a Final Destination franchise. Easily the worst of the worst. Then D, our duds, the mechanics guy who almost had a cool death scene ruined by shoddy CGI, the cowboy who gets killed by a pool, the lawnmower death, the twist ending of FD4, and Clear Rivers being anticlimatically blown up, all on D. They are lame ducks. Do not like them, they are just underwhelming to say the least. No, I meant the 6th movie trailer shows a lawnmower death. I saw the guy stepping on glass, and I'm sure the lawnmower did get him. Last question. Ask it now then, James. Other than that, none of the deaths really scared me. I'm like R.L. Stine. Horror doesn't affect me with only a select few scenes. Glad to be here. Oh, so Bodhi, you want me to review Little Shop of Horrors? Feed me. Then in C tier, we got the guy who got hit by a wrench, the pool death, the NASCAR death, and Kratos getting blown up at the hospital. Nothing too special, but nothing god-awful either. I just think they could have been massively improved. Then B tier. Getting killed by a hook, getting blown up at the end of the bar by a falling jet engine, the racist guy's hilarious death scene, the businesswoman getting impaled by a car, Carter's death by sign, the main human villain's death at the climax of FD5, Bullen getting splattered by Buddha, the subway twist ending, including Mary Elizabeth Winstead possibly being ran over by a train, the black security guard getting hit by a truck, and the dumb jock getting splattered by the gym equipment, the barbecue twist ending death scene, and pervy guy getting spliced by a jet engine. These are in B. They're okay. They're fine. They could have been something special, but I think we're just missing that extra spark to make them all-time classic death scenes. But in the best, we have the good ones. We have all the airplane death scenes, the main protagonist and his girlfriend from FD5, all the Flight 180 passengers, the bitch teacher who got hilariously impaled, the drug addict guy who got spliced by barbed wire, McKinley's well-deserved death, the laser surgery gone wrong, the goth chick getting killed at Home Depot's department, Stifler getting beheaded, the mom getting beheaded, and the roller coaster premonition. All pretty awesome death scenes. Not gonna lie, these were pretty creative and pretty fun. Missing that extra oomph to be a 10 out of 10 master death, but I think they are iconic death scenes nonetheless. But finally, S tier, the greatest deaths of the saga. The bridge accident. Awesome effects, awesome tension, and very creative death scenes, and great use of those 3D effects. The bus death scene, it is hilarious. It's just funny. I'll leave it at that. The shower death scene, the one that started it all, it is still classic, still horrifying and intense. The gymnastics gone wrong scene, one of the creepiest scenes of FD5, and to this day, it is still very gruesome. The apartment complex set ablaze, getting impaled by ladder death. It is a fun death scene, very creative, and pretty horrifying show of death's powers. The dentist visit gone wrong. Yeah, Bodhi's still here, getting crushed to death by a window. That is hilarious, but also very horrifying. Really like it. It is S tier. The tanning bed deaths. Yeah, perfect. It is perfect Final Destination accident. I love it. Out of all the death incidents, this one's easily my favorite. Got hot chicks getting nude, then getting horribly incinerated, and one of the most hilarious transitions from twin tanning beds to twin coffins. It is 10 out of 10. But the number one for me is easily the highway accident, the logging truck gone wrong. This one is easily my favorite accident. I love it. FD2 is my favorite entry in this saga, and it has one of the most realistic and terrifying accidents. It is the number one death scene on this list. So you got that. The logging accident is the number one, and racist guy's wife getting killed off screen is the worst. My FD fear is being buried alive. Yeah, that could work. The car wash scene almost embodies that, but unfortunately they did save the girl. Great tier list as usual. Well, until next time, as Tony Dodd from the first Final Destination would say, I'll see you soon. Yeah, buried alive. What do you guys hope to see in Bloodlines? Like, what death scenes would be totally awesome? What is your fear Final Destination style? Like getting burned, impaled, or something? Being eaten alive by monstrous primal animals. That is my fear. Especially dogs, because I am a cat. Sorry, I just catch up on comments before I wrap up. It's done. It's finally done. Like horror movies is Western is lame, but Japanese horror movies and anime is dark. Yeah, sometimes horror movies in the West do go for like a dark comedy kind of thing. It's been a thing since the 80s, and some of them are great masterpieces, and some not so hot like FD4 or Leprechaun Back to the Hood. Why doesn't Death go after the main character, who's the reason why some of the people lives? Because there's kind of an order behind this. He's like killing people in the order they were supposed to die on these freak accidents, and the main character is honestly usually the last man standing. That's how we got a main character. They're the last one who died in the accident, so they're the last one standing, and the only ray of hope these people have at living. Why no one invited me? Hey, Anime Nights, you made it kind of late. We're about to wrap up. So, Final Destination 2 is still my favorite one, and FD4 is still the worst one. We'll see where Bloodlines lands, but come on, it cannot be worse than the Final Destination. Let's hope it's good. But yeah, that pretty much completes our list. Take one last snapshot if you haven't seen it all. Got a lot more good than bad, so don't worry, I do like this series. Don't let my nitpicks hold you back from liking it. It is still a fun horror saga, and has some of the most inventive deaths ever, to the point where even some of the weaker deaths, I'll admit, had some speck of hope there. Let me say one thing before you end. Okay, hurry up, Anime Night. Love Final Destination. It is a dumb fun saga. I'm not sure if I'll see Bloodlines in theaters yet, because I do kind of have a lot on my plate. Next stream, most likely a return to Power Rangers. Yeah, don't worry, we're not done with the Rangers yet. Just been working on a ton of other things. And Night of the Living Dummy 3 is now reviewed and on Patreon. Check that out. It is a fun video, and I hope you guys really like it. Worked really hard on this one, and hopefully you do win a lot after all the waiting you had to suffer. Is it strange that Molly died in the 5th film? I thought she was saved from the bridge. Also, is the next tier Saw Traps? Probably not Saw Traps. We will be returning to Power Rangers soon. Saw, I haven't seen them all yet. That's kind of one of the things why we haven't done it. Bye, everyone. Great video. Okay, so don't worry, guys. I'll now set you free. Thank you all for joining us. Next tier list, most likely a Power Rangers related tier list, or Elm Street, depending on what happens later. But for now, we'll wrap up. Remember to like, comment, share, and subscribe, or just tune in for more videos posted here on Wolf Entertainment. I'm your host, Catastrophe, and like death, I'll see you real soon.